Come to the final section of this fifth module as well as for the subject non-conventional energy sources. So we were talking about the hydrogen energy in the previous class. So basically this hydrogen energy has got in a different sources. A few of the sources have been listed out here. Currently most hydrogen is produced from the fossil fuels, especially from the natural gases, electricity from the grid or from renewable sources such as wind, solar, geothermal or biomass is also currently used to produce the hydrogen. That is how we can produce the hydrogen actually. So my dear friends, how the sources of production of hydrogen is from, maybe from the fossil fuels or maybe from the electricity. Okay, this is how we will generate or we will produce the hydrogen. In the longer term, the solar energy and the biomass can be used more directly to generate the hydrogen. Okay, now producers of hydrogen today derive hydrogen from petroleum, natural gas, coal, and the biomass. Through chemical processing, hydrogen atoms are separated from those fuel stocks mostly by the way of steam. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. Using hydrogen to power our vehicles is an opportunity for a cleaner future because it doesn't pollute at all. It doesn't emit the gases. So the pollution will be zero even if you use in a hydrogen energy. Is it clear? So as we continue the work with our partners and other retail hydrogen fuel providers, we can dramatically reduce the carbon emission. Natural gas, water, coal, gasoline, methanol, biomass are the other means of producing this so the hydrogens. Other sources being researched including the uses of solar energy, photosynthesis, decomposition, and fuel cells themselves can try uh, generate the electricity, heat, and the hydrogen. These are all the other means by which we can produce it. When it comes to the production of hydrogen, hydrogen can be produced using a number of different processes. There are various processes and techniques or the procedures are there. One of being is a thermochemical process. Uses heat and chemical reactions to release hydrogen from the organic materials. They are not releasing it from the water medium. They are releasing it from the organic materials such as the fossil fuels and biomass. This is from the thermochemical processes, where the water can split into hydrogen and oxygen using electrolysis process. As I was just telling you, in biomass what happens in the photosynthesis, the photolysis process will come into picture in the carbon fixation. Whereas here in the electrolysis process, the hydrogen and water molecules will be split from the water particles. The majority of hydrogen around 95%, is produced from fossil fuels by steam reforming of natural gas. By steam for reforming of natural gases using the fossil fuels can partially oxidize the methane and the coal gasification also. Is that clear? The other methods of hydrogen production include biomass gasification, no carbon dioxide emissions, methane pyrolysis, and electrolysis of water. By all these means, we can produce the hydrogen. The most important industrial method for production of hydrogen, this is what actually most of the people use it, is a catalytic steam hydrocarbon process in which gaseous or vaporized hydrocarbons are treated with steam at high pressure over a nickel catalyst at 650 to 950 degrees centigrade to produce carbon oxides and hydrogen. Now here a simple equation will give rise to CnH2n plus 2. So it is all alkanes CnH2n, if you take Cn as 1, then this will be CH4, then it becomes a methane. If you take 2, then it becomes 6, C2H6, that becomes a methane. I'm sorry, ethane. So, on balancing in general, CnH2n plus 2 plus n number of water molecules by the application with a nickel catalyst. I mean to say with the nickel catalyst at 650 to 950 degrees centigrade will give rise to the carbon oxides plus 2n plus 1 of hydrogen. Is it clear? You can take any organic matters in any hydrocarbons. We will take any hydrocarbons and we will ask it to react with the water in the presence of nickel catalyst at a temperature of 650 to 950 degree centigrade, which gives rise to two output products. One is oxides of carbon, other one will be hydrogen. This CnH2n plus 2 plus 2NH2O may also leads to the oxides. Here also once again we are getting the oxides of carbon as well as 3n plus 1 times of H2. Now here it is even more. Is that clear? In both occasions we are getting the oxides of carbon as well as the hydrogen as an end product or an output product. The primary reaction products are processed further in various ways depending on the desired applications of hydrogen. Another important process for hydrogen production is the non-catalytic partial oxidation. It's a partial oxidation, okay, of hydrocarbons under elevated temperatures without catalytic actions. So this will give rise to CnH2n plus 2 n by 2, that is half of n, that is n into oxygen will give rise to carbon oxides plus n plus 1 H2. Now here we are not using the water, we are just using oxygen. Okay, this process requires a feed system for delivering precise rate of fuel and oxygen. Burners of special design to give a rapid mixing of the reactants, a refractory lined reactor and a cooling system to recover heat from the effluent gases. The latter process is an exothermic. Exothermic means which really any chemical reaction in which it releases heat to the atmosphere is called an exothermic. If it is an endothermic, it absorbs the heat from the surrounding in order to take place a chemical reaction. So that is what an endothermic and exothermic stands for. So this is an exothermic reaction, so it produces heat in contrast to the endothermic steam hydrocarbon process. Steam hydrocarbon process is an endothermic, whereas this hydrogen production with the non-catalytic partial one is an exothermic reaction. Electrolysis of water, this is one of the major important factor. I just want to show you the images. No, I will show this image, then I will go further. Now here, this is something like a battery only. There is a battery and we have a water over here, and inside this we have got two tubes in which we have placed the cell. Is it here? So one will be connected to a positive terminal and the other one will be connected to the negative terminal. What these will do it is they will break the water molecules. They will, because it is made up of H2O, they will break the water molecules and giving out oxygen and hydrogen with few electrons free to the aqueous solution. So that is what we call it as an electrolysis process. Now here we can say we will use two graphite electrodes, which makes this to be possible. I just will tell you the process how it does carries out. Electrolysis of water is a process. It's a process of using electricity to decompose or breaking up. Rather using a decompose, we can say breaking up of water into oxygen and hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas released in this way can be used as hydrogen fuel or remixed with oxygen to create oxyhydrogen gas, which is used in welding and other application purposes. Okay, so that oxygen can also be oxyhydrogen gas can be used for some other welding process also. Maybe oxy flame welding process in which they will be used. Solid oxide electrolyzers, which use a solid ceramic materials as electrolyte and selectively conducts negatively charged oxygen ions. So hydrogens are positively charged and the oxygen will be negatively charged ions at elevated temperatures generate hydrogen in a slightly different way. Water at a cathode combines with electrons from the external circuit to form hydrogen gas and negatively charged oxygen ions. The oxygen ion passes through the solid ceramic membrane and reacts at the anode to form oxygen gas and generate electrons for the external circuits. Basically, these solid oxide electrolyzers must operate at a temperature high enough for the solid oxide membranes to function properly, about 700 to 800 degrees centigrade compared to PEM electrolyzers, which operate at 70 to 1890 degrees centigrade. The commercial alkaline electrolyzers, which operate at 100 to 150 degrees centigrade. So what of these solid oxide electrolyzers can effectively use heat available at these elevated temperatures from various sources including nuclear energy to decrease the amount of electrical energy needed to produce hydrogen from the water. Electrolysis of water requires excess energy in the form of overpotential to overcome various activation barriers. It is not so easy to break up a, a balanced water molecules. Without the excess energy, this electrolysis of pure water occurs very slow and are not at all possible. It's going to be an impossible one. So what is that so much of excess of energy is required is very difficult. This is the point due to the limited self-ionization of water. Okay, pure water has an electric conductivity about 1 millionth of that of seawater. Okay. So the pure water has got an electrical conductivity about 1 millionth of seawater. That means how high the seawater has got a conductivity. Okay. It is because it will have a dissolved salt, so it is a good conductor of electricity compared to the water. That is the reason why, my dear friends, even you might have observed, even in the batteries, we always fill a pure water into that. Have you observed it? So it just for the same reason. Many electrolytic cells may also lack the requisite electrocatalyst. The efficiency of electrolysis is increased through the addition of an electrolyte, such as a salt or an acid or a base. The use of electrocatalysts. In pure water at the negatively charged cathode, a reduction reaction takes place with an electron from the cathode being given to hydrogen cations and from form hydrogen gas. So here is a one small equation I just shall go through one by one. The half reaction balanced with acids is something like this. Reduction at the cathode, which we are connected to the cathode, with hydrogen aqueous solution with two electrons, which releases hydrogen gas. Hydrogen aqueous solution with two free electrons can make this to liberate hydrogen gas, a balanced one. Steady. At the positively charged, this is what which is happening in the negative side, and in the positive side, that is in the anode, what happens? This water molecules, which is a liquid one, will be splitted into oxygen and aqueous hydrogen with liberating four free electrons. Is it clear? So this is what which is happening at the anode section. The same half reaction can also be balanced with the base as listed below. Not all half reactions must be balanced with acid or base. May do like the oxidation. If you see this, the acid balanced reactions predominate in acidic low pH solutions. Low pH means it's acidic. High pH means it is base. While the base balanced reactions predominate in basic high pH solutions. At the cathode section, what happens? These water molecules, the liquid water molecules with two electrons gives rise to releasing the hydrogen and also a OH. 2OH aqueous solution will be given out. Meanwhile, at the same anode, this 2OH aqueous will give rise to oxygen and water molecules with two free electrons. Ultimately, in the first cathode itself, we are getting the hydrogen. Combining either half reactions pair yield the same overall decomposition of water into oxygen and reactions. So we are just combining this and we are just releasing this. This is what even we have mentioned over here. The same thing will holds good over and oxygen. This is what which is happening in the electrolysis process. See 2H2O plus, that is of liquid, gives rise to oxygen and hydrogen with 4 free electrons. Similarly, the two water molecules with 2 electrons liberating aqueous solution with free new hydrogens. The other process is the thermal decomposition of water. Thermal decomposition of water can take place like this. Sulfuric acid H2SO4, just we will study this. Hydrogen can be produced by electrolysis of water. In electrolysis, electricity is passed through the water and it decomposes to form hydrogen and water. Thermal decomposition, thermal, de thermal decomposition, also called thermolysis, is defined as a chemical reaction whereby a chemical substance breaks up into at least two chemical substances when heated. At elevated temperatures, water molecules split into their atomic components, hydrogen and oxygen. For example, if you take at a temperature of it's very high, actually 2200 degrees centigrade, about 3% of all water molecules are dissociated into various combination of hydrogen. We will take the water and we will heat it. We will subject it to atomic component splitting up of these molecules at a temperature of 2200 degrees centigrade will give rise to enormous amount of different hydrogen combinations. That is mostly H, H2, O, O2 and OH. These are all the two components. The O is an unbalanced one, H2 is a balanced one, and O2 is also balanced one. Whereas the other reaction products like H2O2 and HO2 remain minor. At the very high temperature of 3000 degrees centigrade, more than half of the water molecules are decomposed. But at ambient temperature, only one molecule in 100 trillions dissociates by the effect of heat. So it is very rare at a normal temperatures, whereas at 2200 or 3000 degrees centigrade, so that decomposes, produces very high percentage of hydrogen liberation. Thermal water splitting has been investigated by hydrogen production since in the 1960s. The high temperature needed to obtain substantial amounts of hydrogen impose severe requirements on the materials used in any thermal water splitting device. For industrial or commercial applications, the material constraints have limited the success of applications for hydrogen production from direct thermal water splitting, and with few exceptions, most recent developments are in the area of the catalysis and the thermochemical cycles. If you see this H2SO4 at a temperature, this is what decomposition. Okay, now what is happening is we are just heating it to the 800 to 1200 degrees centigrade, which is just giving out. This is one example for thermal decomposition, which gives rise to oxygen and then the water and then sulfur dioxide. This sulfur dioxide and water is once again gives rise to, by the electrolysis process, it comes to H2SO4 and hydrogen. Hydrogen will be liberated over here. Its hydrogen will be collected over there. Then once again, this H2SO4 is being reused. This is what we call it as a thermal uh, decomposition. H2SO4, we are just from the H2SO4, from the thermal decomposition, we are getting oxygen as an output product with subproduct byproducts of water and sulfur dioxide. This sulfur dioxide and water, what happens at an electrolysis process? Because of this, what happens? We get once again sulfuric acid, that is H2SO4, and by the liberation of hydrogen. This hydrogen will be liberated. So by this thermal decomposition, we can attain the oxygen as well as the hydrogen. This is the second method of achieving uh, the production of this. Okay, this is chemical productions. Now the next one is thermal chemical, that is thermal decomposition process. This is a thermal chemical production. Thermal chemical cycles combine solely heat sources, thermo, that is with chemical reactions, to split water into its hydrogen and oxygen components. The term cycle is used because aside of water, hydrogen and oxygen, the chemical compounds used in these processes are continuously recycled as in the earlier case also. Okay, thermochemical water splitting process uses high temperature of 500 to 2000. Whereas in thermo decomposition process, what happens? It is around 2200 degrees centigrade to 3000 degrees centigrade. It is very high. Okay, now the chemicals used in the process are reused within each cycle, and whatever it is coming out, it will be recycled again and again, creating a closed loop that consumes only water and produces hydrogen and oxygen. I'll show you with this. Okay, now this, if you look at this, a chemical cycle in which the water is coming, a high temperature heat is being supplied around 500 to 2000 degrees centigrade, which releases the hydrogen and oxygen. With a low temperature heat, it will release out. This is a hydrogen production by the thermochemical water decomposition. Is it clear? Let us see what is happening here. Now consider the system composed of chemical species, that is a water splitting in a thermodynamic equilibrium at constant pressure and thermodynamic at temperature T. If you have a water, that is H2O of liquid, which releases hydrogen and one molecule of oxygen, equilibrium is placed to the right only if energy enthalpy change, enthalpy means what, the supply of heat with respect to the mass, is provided to the system under strict conditions imposed by the thermodynamics. One fraction must be provided as a work, namely the Gibbs free energy change, that is delta G. So indeed, the generated electron flow can reduce protons, that is H plus at the cathode, and oxidize anions, that is O2 minus at the anode. The ions exist because of the chemical polarity of water, yielding to the desired species. The other one must be supplied as a heat, that is by increasing the thermal agitation of the species, and is equal by definition of the entropy to the absolute temperature of T times the entropy change that is being reacted. Now this is a chemical water decomposition. This is a simple one. And then let us go for this biochemical production. The biochemical production, in the biochemical production, the chlorophyll antenna size is, green algae is minimized or truncated to maximize photobiological solar conversion efficiency and hydrogen production. The truncated chlorophyll antenna size minimizes absorption and wasteful dissipation of sunlight by individual cells, resulting in better light utilization efficiency and greater photosynthetic productivity by the green algae mass culture. Okay. The bioreactor design issues a restriction of photosynthetic hydrogen production by accumulation of proton gradients. Competitive inhibition of photosynthetic hydrogen production by carbon dioxide is been of higher demand by this biochemical productions because it just utilizes the carbon dioxide. Okay, the same process what conventional the photosynthesis undergoes, a similar process will also be is what which is taking place over here. Okay, now if you consider the requirement of a biocarbonate binding at photon system 2 for efficient photosynthetic activity, competitive drainage of electrons by oxygen in algal hydrogen production, that is in the algae. Economics must reach competitive price to other sources. No, it takes more time. Oh, may not be clearly visible. Now this is what actually we have. The proton exchange electrolyte will be placed at the middle, and there will be a load cell which supplies the electricity. Now we have a negative electrode and we have a positive electrode. In this, the microorganism enzymes will be produced, will be given out here. The fuel cells will supply over here in the microorganisms enzymes, and oxidation products will be taken out. So same way on the right side you can see the air is being supplied over here at the positive electrode, and the reduction product will be taken out as an end product. So the proton exchange electrode, this between this load which has been supplied to the negative and the positive electrodes, which liberates the hydrogen. A major technical obstacle for this efficiency is converting solar energy into chemical energy stored in molecular hydrogen, which attempts are in progress to solve these problems via bioengineering. This is actually very difficult, but still people are trying to follow this uh, to to overcome the drawbacks of this and produce a good biochemical way of hydrogen. Now this is what actually which gives a micro one. As you can see it here, the plants which grown and chopped up, the plant's waste fermentation produces acetic acid, that is CH3CO COOH. This is an acetic acid will be put into this. Okay, now because of the power that is being supplied over here, it releases the carbon dioxide, which is greater than 0.2 volts are added from the outside source. It is only a minimum amount of things. Okay, this is an ion exchange membrane which is being shown over here. This is a proton or an ion exchange membrane. This is an ion exchange membrane wherein which this is a positive cathode and this is an anode terminal for which the electricity is being supplied. So what happens? Electrons joins with protons and form hydrogen gas. Electrons mixes with this hydrogen and form mixes with the protons, and then they form it into hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas is a clean fuel that vehicles can be used directly, so that will be taken out. Bacteria which consume acetic acid releasing electrons, protons and carbon dioxide. Electrons and protons will be released over here. Now I just will explain it once again. We have the plantations over here. We will chop it and we will ferment the plant waste fermentation produced acetic acid. That acetic acid we will put it into this section under the negative anode section. Due to this anode section, what happens whenever the power is being supplied, this acetic acid releases three products. One is a carbon dioxide which is released to the atmosphere, and the two other is electrons and protons. This ion exchange membrane, what it does is it makes these electrons to be here and it moves the protons onto the right side. The protons only on the right side, we will have only the protons, not anything else. The remaining of the carbon dioxide, acetic acid, everything will be there in the anode section. In the cathode section, only the protons will come into picture. These protons are nothing but the positively charged. When the electricity is being connected to this cathode section, that is electron which comes here and joins with this proton, releases the hydrogen. This is what we call it as a microbial electrolysis cell or biochemical method of producing the hydrogen. Exactly. So what are the challenges? The major challenges associated with this hydrogen production is, even though The hydrogen is an attractive alternative to hydrocarbon fuels such as gasoline in mobile applications. However, the storage of hydrogen in these applications still remains as a greater challenge and problems. It is the biggest problem of this hydrogen is the storage problem, and scientists have to come up with applicable, light, affordable, and a safe method of storing this hydrogen in such an applications, because even if it reacts with normal atmosphere, it releases enormous amount of energy and make it like that is why people are preparing the hydrogen bombs. So you can imagine how strong it will be. A few problems regarding hydrogen fuel is that the lack of hydrogen infrastructure need for refueling stations, lack of consumer distribution system, cost of hydrogen fuel since in 2009 Department Energy. Some problems are always there. So that ends the fifth module and complete syllabus of non-conventional energy sources.